in Islam, why do women, even widows, inherit less than men? So there's a lot of anger against religion, and I think so. This show is not just about Islam, although we're both Muslims. But the reason why I say that is because we believe in all religions. Islam teaches that all religions are connected. So that's a bit of a background. But anyway, in Islam, why do women, even widows, inherit less than men? So one is men in the family are expected to take care of families, right? Fathers take care of children, brothers take care of sisters. So, right, they should earn more, right? If they have more responsibilities. Okay, but then sort of a question might be why have that situation in the first place? Why do men have to take more responsibility? Why shouldn't they have equal responsibility and let men and women choose their own roles? Okay, so the reason why God doesn't give equal inheritance to men and women is to maintain a healthy relationship between the sexes so that women take care of the home. Now, people are going to get really upset at this point because people have this idea that um, we should just define our own roles, right? But that underestimates how complex we are and how perfectly we fit within the natural system. So, for example, you might say, oh, people should be able to, I don't know, use two legs or one leg to go to school or wherever to work, whatever, right? Okay. But you say, I recommend, let's say, I recommend you use two legs rather than hop because you're going to really damage your legs. It's really tiring hopping all the way to work. So it's the same with this, right?
Yeah.
This is a recommendation, a recommended way of life. And there's plenty of evidence that is much better for you. So there's some
Yeah,
crazy things.
this goes actually back to you mentioned about how we're struggling to even come close to make a fly.
Yeah.
So imagine how complex a human being is,
Yeah.
and not only an individual human being, but the whole society and the network of human beings and how it's all supposed to become stable
Yeah.
and work. It's extremely complex, which we're a million miles away from ever
Yeah,
understanding
and we can see
slightly.
when we leave it to our own devices, it doesn't work. We can see society breaking down all the time, families breaking down all the time.
Which is
Yeah,
why which explains and is quite reasonable for somebody to be annoyed if someone, I say I use the word someone again,
yeah,
a person
yeah.
tells them that this is what a woman's role should be and this is what a man's role should be, because that person is not qualified to say that. They don't
Mm,
know, they don't have infinite knowledge
mm,
and complete understanding, so they don't have a right to make that judgment.
mm.
There's a feeling that the person's making a judgment, which is a legitimate and true feeling,
Sure.
because that person doesn't know enough to make
Yeah.
the judgment that they're making.
Sure.
That's why it is only valid when it comes from God.
Sure,
So
but also we need some facts, right? Okay, so you can say it's from God and whatever, but one of the points I want to make, and it's something really worth studying, and you might be shocked by women not being at home. It actually started most of the ecological crisis that we're in, and you'd be like, hang on a minute, how can something as simple as being a housewife have an effect on the environment? And those are the things we completely misunderstand or undervalue. So do check out in the description. I put all sorts of things that. So there's a TED talk. People love TED talks. And this guy did not intend to say that housewife equals ecological disaster, or lack of housewife equals ecological disaster. His talk was actually just about food. Okay, and there's a TED talk link there, right? Okay, and nobody doubts what he says, because what he does, he goes through the history, and it started from in the 1950s, women going to work in the industrial sort of marketplace, because I think working at home is work. So I don't want to undervalue that, right? So when they stopped cooking food at home, this is the beginning, they had to start buying frozen food. That's when frozen food was invented. Okay, before that, people kind of grew their own food and had very fresh food, right? And it had a knock-on effect to basically industrializing food, and that, without getting into the history of it, spelt disaster for the environment. Basically, there's a massive knock-on effect. Do check that out. But also there's a question about psychology. There's so many areas of science that will prove that women are better off at home, and it's not an insult, because women actually enjoy working at home, being at home. There's you can do surveys and things, and as far as I know, I've been told by a woman that there was a survey done in the UK, and it doesn't surprise me at all when I talk to women, right, that they would prefer to be at home if they had the choice. Okay, but also psychologically, we're told that women women like people, and men like things. This is a psychological truth. Okay, that's why men
Yeah,
play
I
more
think
computer
it
games.
may be a little bit oversimplifying it.
Yeah,
Because
it is over.
it,
It might be simplifying,
because
because it's not like we don't like talking to each other, but yeah.
yeah, I mean, obviously, yes, there are certain roles that women have been given responsibility for as in the family, and men have other roles. So women are supposed to be specifically, one of their particular things are looking after the children
Yeah,
in
and they're
terms of their
naturally better
upbringing.
at it. Yeah.
And one of the particular roles of men is that they should be earning the money and
Yeah.
or bringing the resources to
We're
the.
natural industrialists compared to women, just
But
by
at the same, but
psychology.
I don't. But that's not that doesn't necessarily mean women need to be at home all the time. And we have lots of examples in Islam where women were, so for example, the wife of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was
Peace be upon
peace be
you.
upon him was she was a business lady, and she used to travel and trade everywhere. And I think there's also benefits of women, working and studying, and not just benefits. Islam teaches that women should educate, be educated,
Yeah, but that's
and
different
yeah,
to going out and doing a job. I think
yeah,
there's space for working outside, right? If you're, I would say, bored or something, right? But what I'm talking about is the balance, and the balance is completely wrong in somehow valuing some sort of career, okay, which is a pipe dream for a lot of people, because most people do jobs they hate, right? It's just statistically true, right? Okay, so it's kind of overvaluing this idea that if you have a job or a career, then you're going to be really happy. That's paradise. Okay, that is not paradise, having to do a job. Why would doing a job be paradise? Okay, and so that's kind of one point. But yeah, go on. What were you going to say? So
I
I
mean,
think it's
yeah,
overvalued. That's what I'm
I mean,
saying, really.
we like our spiritual head of our community, Azur, very
Hmm.
often, encourages ladies to advance in their professions and become the top in their fields. So it's not a that's not a
I'm not sure
something
how
which is.
often that happens. I think in
Yeah, it's
niche
very.
situation.
Yeah,
Not.
it's not very unique in lot with all the those question answer sessions,
Hmm.
and people ask advice, and there's there's separate organizations for uh, the ladies who are
Hmm.
in
I'll
the.
question that. I'll question that. But anyway, because I do listen to those as well. But anyway, uh,
What's your thought on
I
that?
would say that's kind of plan B, is what I'd say, right? So yes, women can do certain things really well, especially like the memorizing and language and things like that. Brains are different, right? Um, and but the value of the family is paramount and incredibly important, and should not be undervalued, because you destroy society
Yeah,
if you
yeah. In terms of
value it enough.
priority, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, there's lots of things you can do. Lots of things
yeah,
in life, but
yeah,
everything in life has a rank and a priority.
yeah. That's right.
I see what you're saying. So yes,
It
go
comes
as far as
much
yeah,
lower, I would
yeah.
say. I would say
Yeah, so you
compared
shouldn't be
to
it shouldn't be
yeah,
sacrificing the upbringing of
yeah.
children
Yeah, and the word, I
for
think
yeah.
the word, the since we're pointing out Islam, the
Mm.
question was asking about Islam. It's worth saying this is incredibly important, and the text is gone from the bottom. But anyway, it's worth saying that Islam gave rights to women for inheritance, for example, and we're talking about inheritance. Uh, Over 1,000 years, 1,500 years before people in the UK were given those same rights. It was like 1926 or something. They had the same rights that Islam gave. So there's no point looking down at Islam when it's so far ahead.